From 1977 to 1986, Marvel Comics put out a series of one-shots called Marvel Comics Super Special. While a few issues were original stories, the rest were film adaptations. The first issue was a Kiss story, and the last issue was an adaptation of Howard the Duck, the movie. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, in 1982, they did an adaptation of the film Blade Runner. The film is an adaptation of the Phillip K. Dick novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. The story there follows bounty hunter Rick Deckard, who's tasked to kill several escaped androids in a post-apocalyptic world of 2021, 1992 in the original edition. In the novel also, there's a side story that involves a man with limited intelligence helping out the replicants/androids as well. If you want to see analysis about the differences between the movie and the novel, then you need to check out the Dom's YouTube channel. He did a Lost in Adaptation episode on it. It's funny and really informative even if you've read the source material before. I'll put a link to his channel and the review below. There are a ton of comic book adaptations of films nowadays. I imagine the original reason for them was that not everyone can see them when they come out in the movie theaters. So this is a cheaper way for people to get the story. Also, it's a way to promote the film. Interesting fact, when you read a comic book adaptation, you will find some differences to the story from the film. That's because the comic creators are working from an earlier script. During filming, the script changes over time, and if the comic creators had to wait until the final script, then the comic wouldn't come out until a year later after the film came out. It usually takes, on average, 2 to 4 months for a single 22-page comic to come out, from concept to publishing. So is this a good adaptation? For the most part, yes. It hits all the main story beats, but it does leave a ton out. This felt like a Cliff Notes version of the film, which makes sense when you could read this comic in under an hour, but the film itself was 117 minutes long. The art is done in a film noir style with a strong use of shadows. The character models vaguely resemble the actors. Sometimes they look dead on, other times, nah. The big problem with the art is you have to compare it to the movie. There is a beautiful dirtiness to the film version. The comic, on the other hand, just looks dirty and dark, and sometimes muddled. The story was penciled by Al Williamson and Carlos Garzon. It was also inked by them. With two artists doing combo work on the pencils and inks, it didn't come out that well. It would have been better if only one did one and the other did the other, or if only one artist did the entire thing. On the writing side, it resembles the film pretty much. I did, however, have a huge problem with the comic though. The internal monologue. It's on every page and feels tedious. Not as tedious as another adaptation that I'm going to talk about shortly, but it still felt bad. Also, since the comic only hits on the major points, it felt as if the story was jumping ahead and left some important information out. The story it told is linear to the film, but there is noticeable bits missing. Well, that's that. Are there any extras in the comic? Yep. At the end of the comic, it shows some images from the film. It's also advertising the official Blade Runner fan club. Now the cover is done in a very Drew Struzan-ish style, but it was done by another famed artist, Jim Steranko. There are also several pages that had the cast and production credits as well. It's a bit odd though, because a month after this adaptation came out, Marvel re-released it as a 2-issue comic book adaptation. The only difference I've been able to find is the lack of live-action movie images, and each issue had a different cover page. But it wasn't done in the painterly style that the original was done in. It was done in a more conventional comic book style. Since then, there have been another comic book based on this. Oh no, not of the film, but of the source material Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. The first volume has 24 issues, and the second was just released as a graphic novel, and that came out in 2016. A good question is, can you make a long-running series based off of a single novel? And if you do, is it going to be any good? Sorta. Blade Runner was a loose adaptation of the novel and left out a lot, and it also forced the viewer to think. Now, creating a comic series about what led up to those events of the film or novel is interesting. For the most part, the art fit the tone of the story. The problem, unfortunately, is with the writing. Now, I've only read the first 2 volumes so far, so I don't know if it changed as the series went on. But my main problem with the writing is, 1, it seemed to be mostly inner monologue, and 2, it explained everything. And by that, I mean whatever action the main character did, there would be an inner monologue about it. Let's say he was laying down in bed, got up and opened up the door and went to eat some toast. The inner monologue would be, I was laying down in bed, then I got up, I opened up the door, got out the bread, put it in the toaster. Toast came out, ate some toast. It just felt so redundant. It was years since I first read this adaptation and I wondered why I stopped collecting it. Now I remember why. The most interesting aspect of the series were the covers. I gotta admit, that's the thing that really put this over for me to buy it in the first place. Unfortunately, as with a lot of comics, the type of art that's on the cover doesn't resemble the interiors. But wait, there's more. While Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep seemed to be a one and done, it did have several sequels in novel form, just not written by Phillip K. Dick. He died in 1982. They were written by K.W. Jeter. The first one was The Edge of Human. It came out in October 1995. The story takes place less than a year after the film. Decker takes a job from Sarah Tyrell, heiress to the company, to find the 6th replicant. The second is called Replicant Night, and it came out in October 1996. The story is about Decker going to Hollywood because a movie is being made about his life, or more specifically, about his old blade running days. Replicants come into play and wackiness ensues. And finally, in December of 2000 came Eye of the Talon. The story, it follows a female Blade Runner named Iris. With a lack of replicants running around, the need for Blade Runners dwindles. She does get a job though, and that job is to find a real owl. Now, as far as the film Blade Runner is concerned, aside from the sequel 2049, there are a few short films. There's 2036, Nexus Down, 2048, Nowhere to Run, and Blade Runner Blackout 2022. There have also been a couple of video games though, but none this century. There was a Blade Runner that came out in 1985 and Blade Runner that came out in 1997. It is a bit interesting though, considering the popularity it's garnered over the years, that there hasn't been another video game since then. If this film is successful, I can imagine that a new video game will come out. Well, that's it for right now. If you like this, then please comment below and share this. And until my next video, have a good day.